Investors, hello! This is AI Crypto Insights channel, a few minutes of AI-powered insight into the market. Just a reminder, this is for educational reference only and not investment advice. Today, we're parsing ETH News' article, Neobanks Will Fuel Ethereum's 2026 Growth, says Ether.fi CEO. All right, let's jump right in. This one quote right here from Ether.fi CEO Mike Silagadze, well, it's pretty much the whole reason we're here today. He's laying down a pretty bold prediction, and it's not what you might think. He's saying the next big wave in crypto, it's not going to be some new meme coin or another super complex protocol. Nope, it's all about a totally new kind of financial app. So we're calling this whole idea the 2026 Neo-Bank Thesis. And what's the big idea here? It's that Ethereum's growth is about to make a major turn. We could be shifting gears, moving away from this era that's all about pure speculation and into something defined by real, actual financial use cases, stuff that feels, well, normal to the everyday person. So here's the bottom line. Silagadze is basically saying that the super complex world of DeFi protocols, that's not the end game. The real on-ramp, the thing that brings everyone else in, is going to be these incredibly user-friendly neobanks. I love this analogy. It's like you shouldn't have to be a mechanic just to drive a car, right? Well, these neobanks are like the dealership that just hands you the keys. All the complicated stuff is already taken care of under the hood. Okay, but to really get a handle on this 2026 prediction, we've got to rewind a bit. We need to look at the groundwork that was laid back in 2025. I mean, this was a huge year. It's when the big money, the institutional players, really started to interact with Ethereum in a much more direct, hands-on way. And that's at the stage for everything that comes next. Let's just quickly walk through how this played out. You see, back in April 2025, Ether hit a low point. But then, right in the middle of the year, something big happened. A wave of institutional cash started pouring in through these things called Digital Asset Treasuries, or DATs. And the effect, it was massive. By the end of the year, Ether's price had skyrocketed past $4,800. So the key takeaway here is that even before we start talking about you and me, the big fish were already using Ethereum for some pretty advanced stuff. And it's how they did it that's so important. These DATs weren't just, buying an Ether ETF to get some price exposure. No, they were called bleeding edge for a reason. They were putting their capital directly into on-chain protocols. This proved a completely new model for how big institutions could invest, and it really paved the way for more complex financial products on the blockchain. All right, so the institutions are in, the foundation is set. Now for the million-dollar question, or maybe the 100 million user question. How do you get everybody else on board? And this right here is where we get to the heart of Silagadze's argument, the crypto neobank. So let's make sure we're all on the same page. What exactly is a crypto neobank? Well, think of it as a platform that bundles together a few really key things. First, it gives you access to on-chain yield. That's kind of like earning interest, but straight from the blockchain. Second, it lets you hold your own keys with self-custody, which means you and only you are in control of your funds. And third, it packs in a bunch of other financial services, but wraps it all up in an app that looks and feels just like the modern banking apps you already use. Let's really break down why this is such a game changer. For starters, that familiar interface, it just vaporizes a massive barrier for new people. Then, you've got direct and super easy access to on-chain yield without needing a PhD in DeFi. Third, and this one is so important, it's all about self-custody, giving people real ownership. And finally, it pulls everything together into one clean, simple package. And when you put it side by side with an ETF, the difference is just night and day. An ETF, that's just passive exposure to the price. Your assets are held by someone else, and you're not really doing anything on the network. But a neobank, oh, that's a whole different ballgame. It's all about getting your hands dirty, about active participation. It's designed to get you using the blockchain directly, all while you stay in complete control of your assets. So let's zoom out. How does this fit into the grand scheme of things? Well, the rise of these neobanks, it's not just another new app on the market. It really signals a fundamental shift, a maturation, if you will, of the entire Ethereum ecosystem. And this right here really shows you the pivot we're talking about. The argument goes that right now, a lot of what happens on chain feels more like a casino than a bank, right? It's all about high-risk speculation. The vision for 2026 is to completely flip that script, to shift the focus towards sustainable, real-world utility, things like banking and tokenized assets. The goal is a much more stable and, frankly, productive ecosystem. So what's the end game? What does this utility-focused future actually look like in practice? Well, it's built on these kinds of pillars. We're talking about tokenized stocks. We're talking about banking services that anyone with an internet connection can use. We're talking about stablecoins being a core part of global finance. And of course, other use cases that actually solve real problems for real people. Okay, so we've seen how the big institutions laid the groundwork, and we've talked about the Neo-Bank as the tool to bring in everyone else. This all boils down to one final, really big question. Is it possible that a simple, familiar user experience is the last major piece of the puzzle? Is that what's standing between crypto and true mainstream adoption? AI analyst verdict. The big idea here is that making crypto easy to use through things like neobanks is the critical catalyst needed to finally translate all that institutional groundwork into mainstream, utility-driven adoption for Ethereum. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.